Hello, and welcome to At the Movies with Caleb Coho. I'm your host, Caleb Coho, bringing you up to date on your weekly movie news. First up, we have the Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad recently got its official PG-13 rating. A lot of people are sort of worried about this because Suicide Squad has been showing a little bit of darker themes recently, and especially to have the Joker in it, it should probably be R according to some people, but it will reportedly be testing the boundaries. I'm not quite sure when it comes to Suicide Squad, it's really an oddball sort of movie to talk about. I mean, if you asked me 3 years ago what movie I wanted to see, Suicide Squad would not be the one I wanted for DC. But after seeing the trailers, I'm actually really excited to see Suicide Squad, and I'm very interested to see what they do with it. I trust the director, David Ayer, wholeheartedly, and from what I've seen of Jared Leto's Joker, it looks good. Margot Robbie, Will Smith, the cast looks incredible, and I'm really excited to see what they do with it. I'm not worried by the PG-13 rating. In fact, I'm actually relieved that it has the PG-13 rating, and the fact that they'll be pushing the boundaries is interesting to me, because it gives it the sort of vibe of we're going to make it open for most everyone to see, but we're going to test what you can and can't see, which I don't know, Suicide Squad's kind of an oddball sort of property to begin with, and I'm really interested to see with it. Mark Ruffalo came out and teased new Hulk details for Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok, of course, is the third installment of Thor that will be coming out next year, and will feature Mark Ruffalo's Hulk, among others, as well as Chris Hemsworth's Thor, Tom Hiddleston's Loki, and a host of new characters joining. I'm pretty excited to see the Hulk in Thor 3. The Hulk has been very up and down throughout the MCU. Mark Ruffalo has been doing a great job in the ensembles, and I really enjoyed the CGI for Norton's Hulk and the Incredible Hulk. I'm much happier with Ruffalo over Edward Norton any day. I'm really excited to see him show up in Thor 3 and interact with Chris Hemsworth after both sat out of Captain America Civil War, which came out about a month ago as of the time I'm recording this. From what I can tell, they're taking for Thor Ragnarok, they're taking the Ragnarok story, which is the end of the end of the 9 realms, which Thor is fighting to stop, but they're also taking elements from Planet Hulk, which is a Hulk storyline where the Hulk is exiled from Earth, and he lands on a planet where he's forced to fight in gladiatorial combat, and he ends up killing the overlord and becoming the leader of the Planet Hulk. But to see aspects of both storylines mixed together is very interesting to me, and it makes me kind of excited to see what Marvel's cooking up with the Thor-Hulk team-up. I would love to see a Loki-Hulk round 2 sort of thing happen. I think that'd be very interesting to see. DC's Legends of Tomorrow is a show that's been on the CW for a while now. They are known for taking secondary characters from Arrow and Flash and putting them together in this big ensemble show. I haven't really been keeping up to date with the show. I couldn't tell you what happens past the first 5 episodes. I know to me the premise is very interesting, but the execution is a little lackluster for me. I'm not very into Legends of Tomorrow as a whole. I love Rip Hunter, Arthur Darvill, the actor. I love Doctor Who. That's my favorite show of all time. So seeing him lead another time travel show is cool to me because that's something that he's really good at, is being in those sort of shows. But to actually be the time traveler is kind of cool. I loved Arthur's performance in the 2-part pilot, but I'm not sure I'm on board with the show quite fully. But the show has just cast Vixen. They got a new live-action Vixen. For those who don't know, Vixen had her own miniseries on CW Seeds, which is their app, streaming service. Vixen is a superhero female who can channel animal powers through an amulet. She teamed up with The Flash and Arrow in her miniseries, which was animated. And now they're bringing her to live action for the crossover into Legends of Tomorrow, which I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not a huge fan of the Vixen character, period. And to see her in Legends of Tomorrow, I'm not quite sure what to make of that. Deviating from our little film roundup we got going on here, the news broke that Injustice 2 has just been confirmed with a trailer and a poster for the sequel to DC's Injustice Gods Among Us video game that came out on PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, Xbox One, PS Vita, Wii U, all the big platforms. It's basically a fighting game developed by the creators of Mortal Kombat, where DC heroes can fight DC heroes and villains fight villains. It had a great story to it and has spawned several prequel comics. And now the news that a fighting game sequel to it called Injustice, tentatively it's called Injustice 2, is cool. And they've confirmed new characters like Supergirl will be in it. In the trailer, Supergirl shows up. Atrocitus from the Green Lantern universe. There's a bunch of new characters. I would personally love to see Spectre show up as one of the fighters. I think that'd be really cool, but I would take out all the Mortal Kombat characters that were sprinkled through the first one, like Scorpion, because I wasn't a fan of those guys showing up. I'm excited for Injustice 2. I love the first Injustice and the story mode and the fighting that comes with it. Injustice 2 looks great in the trailer. It looks like everyone's kind of upgraded a bit, and I'm really excited to see the gameplay mechanics to it. Speaking of Supergirl, however, the TV show that was formerly on Fox Network is moved over to the CW, is going to go into its second season, and recently confirmed that her big cousin Superman will appear on the show, I think early on, or not, but they have not confirmed casting. A lot of people want Smallville's Tom Welling to reprise the role as an adult Superman, which a lot of people would agree. I love Smallville. I would love to see Tom Welling reprise the role, but I saw a meme on the internet for it, and it was the shot of the blurred out sort of Superman figure from the pilot, and it says, "Hey everyone," and it cuts to the death of Superman lives, Nicolas Cage, who would have played Superman, Superman lives, and he says, "I'm Nick," and I laughed so hard at the meme because I thought it would be hilarious. They would never do that in their right mind, but it was hilarious. I'm excited to see Superman show up in Supergirl, or even on TV, period, because he's been regulated to film and comics, but never to TV, and I guess he has been on TV, but not recently, I should clarify. He's been on TV, Lois and Clark, The Animated Adventures, Smallville, but we've never seen him in the modern sort of cinematic universes that have been seen on TV, and I think that'd be really, really cool to see him show up again on Supergirl, and how he interacts with Arrow and Flash, and hints that Batman might be showing up in the future, and I would love to see Batman come in a little bit faster, at least. I mean, I don't want to see Superman and Batman get their own shows or anything. They're too big, they're on movies. They are too big to be series regulars, but to jump in and out of TV show appearances would be awesome. I think to see an adult version of the Batman we see on Gotham would be kind of cool. That way we can kind of say Gotham is the past of this universe or something. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Gotham. I liked a lot of ideas from it, but I haven't been watching Gotham Season 2 at all. Continuing on our DC Comics trend, DC Entertainment has confirmed that the next DC animated movie will be Justice League Dark. Now, if you don't know what that is, Justice League Dark is essentially all the supernatural hero sort of characters from the DC universe, including Deadman, Constantine, and others. And Guillermo del Toro has been working on a live-action adaptation of it, but as it seems, the live-action adaptation will now actually be a DC animated movie, possibly, from my understanding of it. And I've never been a huge fan of JLD, but Guillermo del Toro handling that project made me super happy. I don't know if he's handling the animated project or if that is his project from the beginning, but I know Justice League Dark does not really have a huge place in the new DC universe, to me anyway. The DC film slate is packed, and I mean, it didn't even really start off on the right foot with Batman vs. Superman. I personally enjoyed Batman vs. Superman, just not as much as others. But to see them come to animation, DC has been killing it in the animated movies department for the past 7 years tops. Like, they've been destroying the animation industry in the direct-to-DVD department. With such hit movies as Batman Under the Red Hood, Justice League Doom, Justice League The Flashpoint Paradox, All-Star Superman, Green Lantern First Flight, Wonder Woman, Batman vs. Robin, incredible. Batman Assault on Arkham, that's probably my favorite. They've been killing it in animation for as long as I can remember. When I was a kid, I remember watching Batman the Animated Series and Batman Beyond and Superman and Justice League. All the, like, they've been just slaying animation for as long as I can remember. I am excited to see what they do with Justice League Dark. It might end up being my new favorite property, but we'll see how that goes. Switching over to the Marvel side of things, it is rumored that the title for the Untitled Wolverine 3 is Weapon X. I'm not sure why they would go with Weapon X when they're adapting Old Man Logan. I guess it's to show a different sort of side of Wolverine. I mean, his Wolverine 3 will be Hugh Jackman's last outing as the character, and he's only been called Weapon X a handful of times, namely in X2 by William Stryker, and in X-Men Origins Wolverine by Stryker again. But we last saw Wolverine in X-Men Apocalypse, which I'll get back to later to talk about the X-Men franchise. But in X-Men Apocalypse, he made his big cameo, escaping the Weapon X facility, and that was the closest we've seen to a Weapon X. That was actually probably a spot-on representation of the Weapon X Wolverine. And I wonder if the movie is actually called Weapon X, if they will actually show the more feral side of Wolverine after he's been sort of a bit more normal for this long extended period of time. And then in the Old Man Logan story, he kills the X-Men under mind control, goes into hiding, starts a family, and then when his family is killed by the Hulks, he hunts down and kills the Hulk and other members of that family, and it's a very messed up storyline, but it's a really good one. And adapting that for Wolverine 3, which has been confirmed rated R, sounds incredible. And the fact that they're doing, I don't know about the name Weapon X though. The name Weapon X, if they do name it Weapon X, I would hope to see a more feral Wolverine than we've seen in the past. And the name really does need to tie into the story well, to me anyway. Crossing over back to DC, J.K. Simmons, who has been cast as Commissioner Gordon for the Justice League movie, has posted pictures of him beefing up. And not just beefing up, he has his big Commissioner Gordon beard, and he has built muscle on his arms, and it looks like this may be the most in-shape Commissioner Gordon we've seen yet on film, which is interesting to me because everyone we've seen in Zack Snyder's universe has been dark, grim, and menacing. And the fact that Zack Snyder may be making Commissioner Gordon fit that mold is kind of interesting to me. I'm excited to see J.K. Simmons give his take on it. He looks really good and in shape, and I can't wait to see what they do with that. X-Men Apocalypse. It's almost 2 weeks old now. I saw it not too long ago, but I wanted to talk about it, kind of give my little thoughts about it. X-Men Apocalypse, I thought, it surprised me. It was much better than I originally thought it would be. A lot of the performances were good. Some were bad. I thought Olivia Munn's Psylocke was... I don't really want to talk about Psylocke. She's not that great. Angel was awful. Storm, I wanted more. Jubilee was regulated to the background with Lana Condor. Made me sad. Alexandria Ship Storm, I just didn't get enough out of her. Oscar Isaac's Apocalypse was really just kind of clear-cut, normal cookie-cutter villain sort of thing. Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy killed their performances as Magneto and Professor X respectively. They always do. Jennifer Lawrence sleepwalked through another performance as Mystique is the best way I could put it. I'm not very happy with Mystique in this movie or Jennifer Lawrence in this franchise as a whole anymore. She was great in First Class, and she did fine in Days of Future Past. This one was just, it wasn't good. And they tried to make Mystique a central figure and a leader of the X-Men when she's never been that. And it made me really unhappy on the Mystique side of things. On the newer cast, hold on. Lucas Steele's Havoc, same that he's been playing him the whole time. I felt a little bit more for him. And Evan Peters Quicksilver kills it again. I love him as Quicksilver. He's amazing. I love him as Quicksilver. And now talking back to the new cast, I like almost everyone on the new X-Men team. Well, the three new X-Men, that major ones, I love all three. Cody Smith McPhee as Nightcrawler is amazing. Sophie Turner as Jean Grey is amazing. And Ty Sheridan as Cyclops was great casting. The 3 new young Central X-Men I love, and I can't wait to see their performances in future X-Men. The next X-Men is supposed to be set in the 1990s, which is in keeping with how the X-Men are just jumping decade to decade, with the oldest one being X-Men First Class being set in 1962, Days of Future Past being set in 1973, this one being set in 1983, and the next one's supposed to be set in 1994, supposedly, or sometime during the 90s, according to Simon Kinberg. Bryan Singer says that once they build back to the first film, it doesn't necessarily mean the team will be the same going forward. The adventures might be different. This whole timeline thing from Days of Future Past is really confusing, as hinted at in the Deadpool movie, or made as a joke reference. But this brings me to my thoughts about the X-Men franchise. Is it in good hands with Bryan Singer? Bryan Singer was the one who pioneered it with their first film in 2000 and their first sequel in 2003 with X2. But when he left the franchise, it was in the hands of Brett Ratner for The Last Stand in 2006, which was an awful movie, before being passed off to Gavin Hood with X-Men Origins Wolverine, another movie that was not well received, but I personally enjoy it. And then it went to Matthew Vaughn in X-Men First Class, which was the best hands the franchise had seen since Bryan Singer left. And then Matthew Vaughn turned down Days of Future Past, Bryan Singer returned, and the return of Bryan Singer was a breath of fresh air for the franchise. To me, I love Days of Future Past. That's still the best one to date, to me. And we also got James Mangold doing Wolverine, which was perfect for Wolverine. He found his footing, and James Mangold will be doing Wolverine 3, and Bryan Singer came back to do Apocalypse. But Bryan Singer himself has said he's already fatigued with it, and this is the worst X-Men movie Bryan Singer has made yet. I thought Apocalypse was better than I thought it would be. It is an uneven film. It's not a perfect film. It's not even a great film, but I thought it was an okay film. But it is the worst one Bryan Singer has made to date. So that leads me to wonder, is the franchise in good hands with Bryan Singer? I don't know. That's for you to decide. But honestly, I think that Bryan Singer needs to take a break from the franchise again. He's good in bursts. He's been a producer and a writer for the franchise for a long time, serving uncreditedly on X-Men Origins Wolverine, wrote and produced First Class, wrote, directed, and produced Days of Future Past, and wrote, directed, and produced Apocalypse. But I think Singer works better as a producer than a director and should stay off the writing squad. I mean, First Class and Days of Future Past were good, but Apocalypse's writing was a little spotty, and that might not even be on him. That might be on the other people he wrote with. But we'll see how the X-Men franchise does. All right, time to go over to our wrap-up of the weekend movies, just to see what the box office is for now. These numbers come courtesy of Box Office Mojo. For the May 27th to June 2nd week, we had, out of the top 10, $238.3 million grossed, with the winner of that weekend being X-Men Apocalypse. The weekend before that was Angry Birds, and the 2 weekends before that were Captain America Civil War. This last weekend was between a bunch of new movies. The biggest one was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows, which was the winner of the weekend for the weekend of June 3rd through the 5th. The top 12 gross was just $127.6 million brought in. That was a 19.6% drop from the previous weekend and a 18.6% change. With 91 total movies in the theaters, this is the 23rd week of movies so far for the movie-going year. With Teenage Mutant, the fact that TMNT 2 was the number one movie should say that we didn't have a lot of good movies in the box office. In the box office this last weekend, it wasn't very from what I heard, it's better than the last one. The fact that it's better than the last one is interesting to me, simply because I think the reason why it was more well received was simply because people are accustomed to what a Michael Bay movie is, or what a Michael Bay movie is typically, and I believe they adjusted well to this one, because they saw what a Michael Bay movie is normally, and just sort of agreed in consensus that it was good for a Michael Bay movie. Let's look ahead to what's upcoming next week. This weekend, coming up, the 3 biggest releases are, from Warner Brothers, The Conjuring 2, your biggest horror movie release of the weekend. From Lionsgate Summit, Now You See Me 2. Another sequel. I can't wait for Now You See Me 2. Now You See Me 1 is one of my favorites ever. And I believe, right now, I will predict Now You See Me 2 being the weekend winner. Critically, not financially. Financially, I believe the Universal release Warcraft will take the weekend. Because, to me, it looks interesting. I'm not sure if it'll be the winner critically, but financially, it probably will. I believe Now You See Me 2 will be the winner critically. Let's look at some of the other releases for the weekend. We have from Electric Entertainment, Blackway, a thriller. From Zeitgeist, a documentary called Call Her Applebrug. From Stars Media, a thriller called Careful What You Wish For. From A24, the documentary De Palma. And from Cohen Media Group, a drama called Diary of a Chambermaid. Other releases this weekend include Teen, Therapy for a Vampire, The Music of Strangers, Last Cab to Darwin, German and Jews, Genius, From Afar, and De Palma. Next weekend, not this upcoming weekend, but next weekend, we will have the releases from Warner Brothers of Central Intelligence, the big comedy of the year with The Rock and Kevin Hart. And that same weekend from Buena Vista or Disney, we have Finding Dory, the animated sequel to Finding Nemo. I love Finding Nemo, one of the best Pixar movies that has been released to date. And the fact that there is a sequel centered around Ellen DeGeneres' character Dory scares me. Other releases that weekend include Tickled, The Last King, and Clown. To close out our June weekend roundup, we have 3 big movies coming out on the last weekend, Friday the 24th. We have a historical drama coming from STX Entertainment called Free State of Jones, which will be one of the bigger releases that weekend. I will predict the winner of that weekend will be the release from Fox called Independence Day Resurgence, the sequel to the 1996 disaster flick classic, starring Bill Pullman and Jeff Goldblum. This film will star Liam Hemsworth with a returning cast including Bill Pullman and Jeff Goldblum as the aliens return. The third biggest release will come from Broad Green Pictures, a horror thriller called The Neon Demon. I don't know anything about that. So after reading off what comes out for the rest of June, I will predict my top 5 June movies. I believe the number 1 movie of the month will end up being Finding Dory because Pixar always has a smash hit release. They always know what to do when it comes to movies, and most of the time they smash it out of the park. Let's just be honest, they do. I will say second place will be Warcraft, as I believe the video game community will step up and just seize all the box office profits. In third place, I will say Now You See Me 2, because Lionsgate's franchises usually bring in money, and Now You See Me 1 was pretty well seen, brought in enough money. I think Now You See Me 2, especially with the star power of Daniel Radcliffe added to the cast, I believe that Now You See Me 2 will bring in some box office money. I believe Central Intelligence will come fourth, because there's always that big comedy, and you can always count on The Rock and Kevin Hart to make money. Independence Day Resurgence will probably... Well, you know what? I need to rearrange that list. I think Independence Day Resurgence will be the second biggest of the month, followed by Warcraft, Now You See Me 2, and then Central Intelligence. That's my top 5. So, repeating, number 1 for the month will be Finding Dory. Number 2 will be Independence Day Resurgence. Third place will go to Warcraft. Fourth place to Now You See Me 2, and fifth place to Central Intelligence. So that is the June movie roundup for the box office. And we are almost out of time here on the At the Movies with Caleb co-host show. So I will wrap it up by giving you a quick preview of what to expect in the coming months for movies and what you can expect from the show to talk about. Of course, we will be covering the BFG, which will be the next big release on Friday the 1st. The Legend of Tarzan and The Purge Election Year all coming out June 1st or July 1st. On July 8th, we have The Secret Life of Pets. July 15th, we have Ghostbusters, the reboot/remake coming from Sony of the original beloved 80s classic. Looking at what's coming out in July and June, the summer is already gearing up to be pretty big. So far, my favorite movie I've seen this year is Marvel's Captain America Civil War. Is my favorite movie to see this year. If you haven't seen Civil War, you need to go check that out. With some pretty great, so far 2016 has wielded some pretty good movies and some pretty bad movies. It's really up in the air. My top 5 movies for the year, I would say Captain America Civil War coming in at first. Second would go to the Coen brother movie Hail Caesar. To third place would be Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice. Fourth place would have to go to... Fourth place would probably reluctantly have to go to X-Men Apocalypse. And fifth place on my list would have to... Well, X-Men Apocalypse. Holy fifth would probably have to roll out to The Jungle Book, actually. I think The Jungle Book was a really good movie. Man, top 5 for the year so far. It's really hard to pick those. But you should let me know. Let me know what your top 5 are. I think it's been a pretty good movie year so far. Pretty good summer movie going experience so far. We have had 4 of our superhero movies for the year released. What do you think is the best one? So far we've had Deadpool, Batman v Superman, Civil War, and X-Men. Who do you think the winner is? To me, Civil War is the winner. Batman vs. Superman inching out second. Deadpool coming in third, and X-Men coming in fourth. I believe that's all the time we have left here for At the Movies with Caleb Coe. Please tune in next week for more At the Movies, for your more weekly news roundup and more box office numbers and results. And we'll find out if my weekend predictions were correct or even if my monthly predictions were right in 2 weeks. So, tune back in here, see if I was right. If I was wrong, you can yell at me and make fun of me all you want. So, thank you for tuning in, and this has been At the Movies with Caleb Coho. Thank you for watching.